Hi everyone. I'm back again with a topic about healing the aspect and the aspect that can come up through memories, really, in this kind of instance. So, just as a kind of like a kind of example, when say if you've got a memory that kind of opens up that is really holding a strong emotional charge, there's maybe parts missing in the conscious awareness at the time. So that then sends a trigger throughout the rest of your life through similar experiences to maybe react in a much more potent way or unrealistic way for the thing that is being triggered. Um, I'm looking at these kind of topics here. Now, this technique we'll look at today can be used across the board. It can be used when it can be used multidimensionally. It can be used through any part of the memory. And what we want to kind of achieve from it is understand the aspect and how it thinks and how it feels. Um, so we'll just jump straight into it, really. So when we're kind of dealing with these aspects, we are looking for the primary emotion that kind of comes up within the memory. So that primary emotion will indicate a level of belief that has been or that primary emotion will initiate the trigger point, which as we dive into that, we can then start to unravel the belief system that's kind of locked within the consciousness of the aspect. Now, this aspect can present very, very, very shut down. It can be very stubborn, there's a myriad of ways this can kind of come into action. And what we want to do is effectively get this aspect to feel safe enough to reintegrate with you. Now, usually when I start off working in this way with myself, at least, and I can do it, I can talk about how I kind of work with myself quite a lot, because I do it every day. I am looking at the belief systems that this part of me has been holding and whether it trusts me enough to tell me. So, due to the traumatic experiences, these parts of the consciousness, they will hide and they will shut down. And it's kind of being able to kind of identify them first is an important kind of skill. And that will be developed through the emotional charge that is being given to you, um, that can override your consciousness and throw you into a foul mood. This is what we're looking at to be able to neutralize it. So when that kind of emotional charge comes up, and it can happen on the day if you're able to kind of deal with it there and then, that's great. But sometimes we need to have like a little break in between from the initial trigger point reaction to the review point, because sometimes the wound can be too raw. And what we want to kind of do in that moment or a few days afterwards is jump back into the feeling of it, and we just start to question, why was this emotion so potent? Why was this scenario so potent? And what we want to do is start to process the emotion that's kind of underlying within that first. So always, I mean, I have books and books and books of kind of emotional journaling and things like that. So journaling, I find, is like the key and most important thing you can do, because it gets what's going on in your field and it gets it down onto paper. And therefore it's had some level of self-expression. And what this does is it moves the emotion out of the way because it's being acknowledged onto the page. And that opens up a space for you to start communicating with that aspect. Okay. So after we kind of go through that initial phasing, we identify the primary emotion and go back into the belief system that it's holding through feeling and questioning what its perspective is. What does it believe about the situation? What does it believe about itself? And what does it believe about the people around it that have had this interaction with? Or, what does it believe that, say, if it was like a kind of car accident, then who's at fault in this? Have I done anything wrong? And what we want to kind of do is connect back into that and start to restore it and rebalance the frequency that has generated through that interaction. Okay. So this is a process called kind of polarity integration. So when it's facing with a kind of off-end negative polarity or kind of really damaged and fractured, we want to go in and start providing it through asking what it needs. We give it the things that it needs the most. The majority of the time, it comes in as unconditional love. It needs to be loved and needs to be supported. A lot of the time, it also needs to have safety brought in, and there can be like a myriad of different emotions that it's actually needing to come into balance. So when we kind of start to identify, we're then able to ask the divine for support, or I am giving you, as if it is a client that's outside of you. So there's me reviewing the aspect is my client. And because I'm not looking at it from inside myself, which I am to some degree, I'm projecting it outside of myself. I'm able to become a little bit more objective in reading the aspect, even though all the emotional charge is kind of going off within myself. If I can take that out of me and place it into the aspect, then we're able to kind of start to separate out your own identity from that part that's going through the damage and through the trauma. So as we've got the kind of the consciousness coming forwards and telling us what it's needing, we're then able to relay the feelings, the emotions, the support systems back into it. And what this does is like I said a moment ago, it transfers or begins the release of the trauma because you are understanding what it has gone through. And by you giving it what it needs, this starts to shed, decompress, and process the emotion through your own energy system. And then this updates through your whole chakra system. It updates through your consciousness where it is fragmented and starts to repair and restore. Now, when we're kind of going through this, we want to kind of also just document what the consciousness looks like at that time. And then after we've gone through that process, we're going to reflect back to how far it's come in the process. After you've gone through the emotional integration, you've understood what it feels like. And this doesn't always get cleared up straight away. It's very much a case of, okay, I'll give you this. Is there anything else you need? Okay, I'll give you that as well. How else can I make you feel whole and secure? Okay, I'll give you that now. Then you'll take a step back, come into the conscious awareness where you've disconnected from the field, because what that does, that pause of connection, it actually gives the energy some time just to integrate, and then you come back into it. So the energy as it flows, when you are intending, it's starting to direct the energy into that space. But once you've kind of got it so far, you need to detach from the situation and then come back to it so it actually goes in. And that is by bringing your full attention away from it. And as you've got all your notes, you can see where you've come up to, and then you go back into that and then see the results as to what has gone on with that aspect. Okay. Now, say if the aspect has gone through quite heavy victimization, there will usually be a lot of distrust that's kind of surrounded within it. And what we want to kind of achieve here is, number one, to create the safety, but we need to bring you, present day you, in to teach this aspect from the past. This is what you've done to change your life and environment to make sure these scary things can't happen to it again. So we're looking at how much you have already evolved, how much you have changed your environment, how much you have changed yourself, because this part doesn't always see that. It doesn't always remember it. And what we want to kind of achieve by that is giving it the opportunity to just take a look. And when it kind of starts to take a look, you've got a level of communication there, and it begins to see the trust and the security that you've already formed. And with that, you can then come in as the parent and say, look, I've done all of this for you. I'd love you to come home with me. And then that aspect starts to kind of question and make a choice to come home. Ultimately, 9 times out of 10, it's going to come home with you. If there's more trauma that's kind of underneath it all, that it needs to be kind of rescued or kind of restored back to its secure levels, that can also happen. But ultimately, because you are the overall structure, you are the kind of the God incarnate of all of these aspects. They just need to be shown your growth. They need to be shown where you have kind of made the changes to accommodate them to come back in. And they also want to be acknowledged for what they've kind of gone through. They need to kind of be seen that their past hasn't gone unnoticed. And this fundamentally, when you're already connecting with them, is the initial sign for that. But the conscious mind may not recognize that, because if you are more kind of connected with the identity of it, it can still kind of blend through, and there can still be a level of kind of unconscious processing. And what we want to kind of do is open it up to make it very conscious. This is what I've done. I want you to come home with me. I see what you've been through. I'm so sorry that you've gone through that, but I am now here and I will never let that happen to you again. So, what that does is it kind of reinforces the belief that you are, or this aspect is safe, because that aspect still holds a part in your energy field and in your consciousness that is kind of dictating how you're seeing your reality and where your triggers are kind of becoming um, engaged. Okay. So once I've kind of got more information, or if I feel like I need to do an update on this one, which I probably will, as this is just a short kind of video, I'll get back onto it and go for that. So yeah, if you did like this kind of content, give us a like and a subscribe. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if you are working through these kinds of things, and if you are kind of getting stuck, and if there's anywhere we can kind of help. Drop them in the comments below, and I'll get to it. All right, guys, loads of love. Take care. Bye.